Attorney Online is a chat room where you can experience the ability to role-play as prosecutors and lawyers in a courtroom, from getting the defendant's innocence by any means possible, to going above and beyond, finding out who was the one actually responsible for murdering the victim. Known as Not Guilty % and Truth %, these two categories are the most popular to speedrun within this community. But there exists one category that can only be found within one scenario. Its name? Turnabout Old Sins. Known for its famous speedruns over the years, it has been famed for being the only case on Attorney Online with this category. Bomb any %. Before I tell you what bomb % is, let me give you a brief explanation on what Not Guilty % and Truth % is. Not Guilty %, as the name suggests, is finding your client not guilty of all charges presented to them, either from finding doubt in the case via suspects, or from the prosecution's case having too many holes within them. While Truth % is finding your client not guilty, and finding, accusing, and successfully cornering the person who actually killed the victim. So what is bomb % exactly? Bomb % is accusing this person, named Pearl Fay, of killing the victim, Angel Starr. Your goal is to do it as fast as possible, which sounds easy enough, but there were some hurdles to overcome. She's the first witness in the case, but before you can actually get to her, you must first overcome the prosecution's opening statement and their detective. You, as the defense, have no control over the first and most important part of the trial, the prosecution's opening statement. You see, when the prosecution gives their opening statement, the length of it can wildly vary, from it being a mere 30 seconds to someone trying their hardest, stretching out the opening statement to 2 minutes, ending your chances at getting the world record. Now, people have developed strats to make this more consistent and much faster, though it involves a bit of luck and RNG. The prosecution can simply just say their plea of guilty, which will shave off a massive amount of time, taking anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds. But this is where the luck begins. Insert the judge. The judge is the one who presides over the entire trial, determining the pace of the trial and ultimately handing down the verdict. While the prosecution can simply say their plea, most judges will not be satisfied with the lack of effort coming from the prosecution, with about 3 in 4 or 75% of judges ending the trial right then and there, killing the entire run. But people have found a way to avoid those overwhelmingly crushing odds by doing the case in MTP, minimal trial procedures. MTP will provide you with one detective and one witness, no matter what you do as prosecution or defense. So this will be the main subcategory that will be talked about during this video. Let's get into it. During the summer of 2020, 2 unknown users stumbled upon the bomb ending of this case while trying to go for another speedrunning category, disbarred %. They tried to randomly accuse Pearl in hopes of getting disbarred as soon as possible. But then, this happened. She took out a nuclear bomb and exploded the courtroom, getting the first ever recorded bomb % on record. The prosecution gave the default OS, while the defense asked many questions to the detective. They called up Pearl, and the defense tried to confuse the court in order to get disbarred by accusing her. Instead of getting disbarred, though, they ended up with everyone dead. This total run clocked in at 1 hour and 32 minutes. Considering that they weren't really aiming for this category, this would be the only run ever to be over an hour. And this is where it began. Once bomb % was discovered, several users tried to speedrun this category, turning something that wasn't an official category into something official. These users were still using the well-known MTP and guilty plea strats, but that was the only part that the users were able to optimize. Once the detective was on the stand, you can only hope and pray that you had good RNG. You see, there are several things that could happen after the detective has testified. The prosecution could direct examine and waste precious minutes. The judge or witness could add some unnecessary role play, resulting up to a minute of time loss. Or the defense could cross-examine, wasting even more minutes. Or you could have the worst possible RNG and have Yoru as an opponent, which will increase your run time above the 1 hour mark before the first witness is even called, killing any chances of getting the record. But these players decided to ignore all of that. They decided to completely skip the detective. By skipping the detective, you're able to save up to a total of 30 minutes on the detective alone. But this, of course, didn't come with its own set of issues. It, of course, all comes down to the judge. If you get a judge that is competent, they won't let something like that fly, killing the run. But if you get a judge that is lenient or simply doesn't care, then you pass the first hurdle. With approximately 20% chance to get a lenient or careless judge, getting over this hurdle took a bit of grinding from some players. But once that hurdle was over, it was time to move on to the next hurdle, requests. With requests in MTP, both sides are able to make requests, and both sides are able to object to the other side's requests. Making any requests would result in about 10 seconds of time loss per request. Nothing major, but each objection would cause 30 seconds of time loss, a massive deficit that can't be recovered from. So if you're aiming for the record, you can only pray that the other side doesn't make requests, and if they do, that it's not so many that it's run ending. After that, it's relatively smooth sailing from there. Pearl gets called to the stand, she testifies, and either side accuses her as fast as possible. If all goes well, you can have a time within the 5-minute to 20-minute range. But this player didn't go for just 5 minutes. He went far and beyond, going for a sub 3-minute run instead. His name was Matt Turk. Nah, I'm just pulling your leg. To this day, nobody knows who this player was, as he was essentially faceless, having no name to speak of. But the record he set would go on to never be topped within bomb percent to this day. From getting the perfect judge, to getting the guilty plea only, to getting the detective skip and no requests. No one was able to top this person's insane luck needed to pull it off. From a 1 in 5 and 1 in 2 to a 1 in 5 and 1 in 4. Being only 0.5% odds. Others have moved on, seeing it as a mountain that can't be climbed over, while other users continue to try and beat that impossible sub-minute 3 record today. But like any record, there's no such thing as an unbreakable record. Through sheer perseverance, someone else will break that sub 3-minute barrier. Grinding out your personal bests, slowly inching closer to the world record, finally beating it after many thousands of attempts, is what's most important. Perhaps one day within the community's lifespan we'll see someone break that record. But for now, thanks for watching.